It's a rather large house we haven't investigated yet. Hello, baby.
Oh, knight, give me a little piece of consolation in form of a kind word from a god's knight, please.
As you wish, good woman. Don't despair. God watches over us all.
Thank you, knight. You're very kind. There is so little consolation to be found in these times. It seems to me as if evil around us wrapped our souls into an impermeable cloak, impenetrable even for a single beam of hope.
Who are you, good woman?
My name is Elizabeth Van Singdier. I'm a sister of Baron Robert Van Gallahan.
Your sister of Baron Van Gallahan? You don't have the same name.
Oh, sure I don't. I was married to Baron Erwin Van Singer, former royal vice-governor of Gladsburg.
You're far from home, Lady Baroness. What brings you here? You're far from your home, Lady Baroness. What brings you here to Hillbrant?
Death, mine. My husband died of a plague 2 years ago, and last year I lost my home and all my belongings when our mansion was burned to ashes during Night of the Fallen Stars. Everything was razed to the ground. All I have now is my life. Because of that, I came to my brother, who was so kind and offered me shelter here. I even got a small annuity till the end of my life, and I'm very grateful for him. My brother is really a good man.
I'm sorry about your husband, Lady Baroness. I'll pray for the salvation of his soul.
Of course, knight. I'll gladly answer all your questions. What do you need to know?
You're new in town, Lady Baroness. What do you think about the people who live here?
The people who live in Hillbrant are real barbarians. Excuse me for saying that, but it's true. I spent most of my life in the convent schools when I married Baron Van Singier. I lived in Gladsburg for some times. It's not comparable with the conditions here. Never in my life have I seen so much atrocity, rudeness, indolence, and apathy. No wonder heresy settled down here. And I wouldn't be surprised if I found that all the evil came from places like this. Hillbrant is awful, dirty hole full of shitheads who hardly resemble true faithful believers. Every day I spend here makes me suffer.
Did you know Paul Hammerhand was missing?
Yes, I've heard that that naughty son of a bitch ran away from home again. There was always trouble with that little rascal ever since I arrived in Hillbrant. I'm sure some impure ghost must live in his body. I've never seen a child behave so terribly. He lies, steals, and is wayward like Satan himself. However, I don't know anything about the reason why he's missing. He's probably doing some wicked things somewhere, or he broke his neck last during some devilment he tried to do.
What do you think about the current crisis affecting our realm?
I lost all I had during the last 3 years. My beloved husband, all our family belongings. Simply put, I lost everything. However, I don't cry. I don't take recourse to adultery, and I don't try to strengthen my faith as much as I can. Because of that, I don't think that the scourges of God that affected our realm are an acceptable reason for people to become heretics using the powers of hell just to assure better times will come. No, knight. Well, maybe there are some people of that type here, but I think most of the godless people aren't the poor ones from which life took the layings they had. The heretics are people, vicious to the marrow of their bones, the people holding various positions in the realm's administration and society. They're among the nobles and knightly orders, even among clerics. No offense, knight, but I've had my eyes wide open if I were you.
Has something uncommon happened here in Hillbrant?
I've experienced many terrible things during my last 3 years, but to tell the truth, the thing that scared me the most was the terrible storm that drifted over the town lately in the middle of the night. All the time the terrible tempest was raging out there, I was praying to the Archangel Gabriel not to let us fall into the throat of Satan. That was exactly how it looked like, knight. As if hell opened its maw and was going to swallow our entire world. Ghosts, phantoms, and other infernal vermin flew in the air and romped about in the sky like if it wasn't God's word that denies them to enter our world. I closed the window shutters because I was afraid they would come into my bedroom and take my soul away with them.
You said you had your window shutters closed not to let those hellspawn and take your soul. In that case, how could you see the hellspawns and devils romping about in the sky?
It was clear to me what was going on out there, knight. Well, people in the town told me the same next day. Not very many of them were brave enough to show their faces out their door, but those that did told me about infernal demons who cried in the sky and rampaged there like witches during some heretic Sabbath.
How long did the tempest last, Lady Baroness?
I don't know exactly, knight. Several hours at least. When the tempest was finished, all my body was lame because of the long kneeling.
Thank you, Lady Baroness. Do you happen to know anything about the disappearance of Bishop Quinton?
Oh, poor Bishop Quintinus. He disappeared during that terrible attack of the orcs in the town several days ago. Surely the hellspawns killed him, or they took him, and sacrificed him to the unclean idols. He was such a kind-hearted man. Sometimes the way of our Lord was really inconceivable.
Do you happen to know anything about the death of Merchant Kurth Olimir?
I know something about the murder of the merchant. It involves my sister-in-law, Linda Van Callaghan. St. Hedwig's Day was celebrated in the night that the merchant Olimir died. There were many people in Truthorn's tavern, but in spite of that, sir, I noticed that Olimir and Linda were looking at each other. They exchanged several words and left each other like as if they didn't plan anything, but after a moment neither of them was in the tavern. I presume both of them left for the merchant's room in the attic to fornicate, because my sister-in-law is used to doing so. However, the next day Kurth Olimir was found dead.
Do you think Linda Van Gallan could be involved somehow in that murder?
Yes, it's possible. I've always believed my hard-boiled sister-in-law would be able to do something like that, to get what she wanted. I don't know what Kurth Olimir had in common with her, but they looked at least suspiciously at each other. However, there's one thing I'd like to ask you for, Knight. If you talk to Linda to verify that information, don't tell her who told you, please. I never had enough courage to face Linda openly.
Of course. Don't be afraid about it, Lady Baroness. What do you think about Master Edmund de Arvias, suspected of heresy?
I don't believe Master Edmund would be able to commit something as terrible as people say. Although I've only known him for a short time, I'm sure the man is one of the most faithful and honest people I've ever met. Thus it seems unthinkable to me he is accused of something as irrational as to plot the powers of hell.
Well, such crimes might happen these times, Lady Baroness, don't you think?
Of course, you're right. I also knew people who seemed to be devoted to their mission and at the same time reveled in hellish debauchery and godless celebrations of the Lord of Darkness in their cellars. However, that's not the case of Master Edmund. He's so clean and open. Talk to him for just a minute and you won't doubt he's innocent. Try talking to him, Knight. You'll see.
Do you have any idea where the soldier Julian could be hiding?
I don't have the slightest idea where Soldier Julian could be, Knight. In fact, I wouldn't know him at all if I hadn't met him once in Talia Reichman. He courted her some time ago, and thought that he could get her father's money that way, you know. Well, he wasn't successful. He might have fooled Natalia and compliments the youngster talk, but he didn't fool her father. Mr. Reichman is a merchant too skilled to let some beginner fraudster get the better at him.
Do you want to say that Julian courted Natalia only to get her father's money?
Yes, exactly, Knight. That dandy thought he could get rid of her father's treasury through Natalia's clear heart. But he was mistaken, and according to what I've heard, he was really angry with Reichman. The merchant got rid of him in such an unscrupulous way that Julian didn't stop running until he reached the watch house.
That is all. Farewell. I'm desperate, Knight. My wife, Baroness Linda Van Gallan, is lost, and she's been missing for some time. I asked Sheriff Corntonbury to send his men to look for her around town, but he refused. Said he needed his men in town, not spread all over the foothills of the Moonshine Mountains. Will you help me? First, I would like to know who you are, sir. Forgive me, I was so upset I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Robert Van Galligan. I'm the Royal Vice Governor of Hillbrant. Linda's my wife. And did you try to find your wife yourself? Don't you know how to use a sword? Me? Look for Linda? But then I could get killed by some wild monster. I can't risk losing my office. If I find your wife, will there be any reward? Of course, Knight. If you manage to find Linda, I'll repay you generously. Gold has no value for me. If your wife is still alive, I'll bring her back. When's the last time you saw your wife, Baron? It was the night the orcs attacked the town, Knight. Linda seemed to be rather nervous. She probably had a hunch, which unfortunately proved to be correct. Late in the afternoon, she left for town and never came back. God, I hope she's all right. What will I do without her? She means everything to me. Thank you, Baron. I will take care of that hoe. Do you know anything about the disappearance of Bishop Quinton? I know exactly how the Bishop Quinton has disappeared. Really? How? Without a trace, Knight. That's how it was. Thanks, Baron. You've been extremely helpful. You know anything about the death of Merchant Kurth Olimir? Of course I know something about the murder of Merchant Olimir, Knight. He was murdered in the room he was renting in Truthorn's Inn. His neck was cut through and well, his penis cut off. Disgusting! I was there when they were examining the body, and I must say I almost threw my breakfast up. You don't see as much blood even in a slaughterhouse. Who do you think was behind the murder? Who? Well, that's easy. Demons, of course. My wife thinks it was a succubus the Merchant Olimir was secretly fornicating with at night. He was an eccentric man and an adventurer. He led a wild life, and it cost him his life. My wife says he brought a demon from his travels, and it killed him here in Hillbrant. That's why they didn't find any leads leading to a murderer, because it was a demon. I'm looking for heretics. Do you suspect anyone? There is one suspicion, Knight. My wife thinks, and of course I do, that Duke Weinberg is not as innocent as he may seem. He has not been affected by the scourges of God, Knight. While the whole country is starving, his granaries are always full. While everybody lost a few relatives to the plague, his family was spared. When the rain of fire fell, the flames burnt everything around, but his property stayed intact. But that's not everything. Well, continue. Did you know that Van Callahan's family is much older and more important than the Weinberg family? And yet it was Duke Weinberg who was designated as new liege lord of the town after the death of Grand Duke Derek. It's obvious he signed a contract with the devil. It's been burned by red-hot iron in his chest. That's why he wears high-collar surcoat, even in the hottest summer days. I tell you, Knight, he's a heretic. We just need to get some evidence against him. I should be royal vice governor of this town. What do you think about the crisis that's spreading across the realm? The crisis is deep, Knight. I would have never thought so many disasters could happen in just a few years. The scourges of God turn the realms into ruins. My wife thinks, well, we think that as a consequence of the corruptness and unfaithfulness of those who are supposed to be taking care of the realm, but they follow their own interests instead, who succumbs to the power of Satan. It's important to find those heretics and uproot them from their lands. Something uncommon happened here in Hillbrand lately. Anything unusual? My wife's disappeared, don't you remember? My dear Linda gone. What am I to do without her? She's everything. We have a chest here, undoubtedly locked. You can bash open chests, but it takes a toll on your weapons, of course. I think we've about talked to everyone and everything here in town. Might be time to do a little exploration and see if we can get some of these questicles done. Go check out that campfire. A lot of dead bats. How come I can't read signs? Uh-oh. It's Edmund Diavias. Where are you, brother? You must be new here to Hillbrant. I don't remember having the privilege of meeting you. Just so, brother. I'm new to Hillbrant, and who are you? My name's Edmund Diavias, and I'm the superior of the Hillbrant chapter of Brotherhood of Righteous. You are a master of the Order of the Brotherhood of Righteous? Yes, you're right. My mission is to lead the local chapter and administer justice here in Hillbrant and its surroundings. Along with my brothers, we are the service to God and the King, just as our order who's entrusted to do is established. And you may believe me, it's not an easy service, especially these days. What do you mean? Since the Star of Doom has risen on the sky and the realm was struck by the scourges of God, our services is like an endless bloody fight with hordes of hellspawns and their human henchmen. And the numbers of those monsters do not dwindle. In fact, they rise. And moreover, there's conflicts between our Brotherhood and the Holy Inquisition. One would think that under such circumstances, all would wish to fight common danger would untie, but it's just the opposite. Instead of broad help, the Holy Office tries to blacken our name and subject us to this jurisdiction. It is scandalous. What if you're mistaken, Master? What if the Holy Inquisition is just trying to administer this justice? If that's the case, enlighten me, brother. Why are the highest representatives of the Holy Office trying to procure the largest possible restriction of our Brotherhood's time-proven jurisdiction and of our privileges? Maybe they have a strong argument for doing that. What if we abuse our powers? Would anyone stop us? I see your point, brother. You may even be right. These are evil times. We cannot believe anything in any. All that has been sacred is changed into foul-reeking heresy and atheism. But I won't allow the Brotherhood of Righteous to be accused of such shameful crimes that are being blamed on us. Of course, nothing of that is true. It's just the opposite. The Holy Inquisition is the one that does everything in its power to become suspicious of pursuing its own interest, which surely do not align with the interest of the realm. Why else would the Inquisition make such efforts to subject the Brotherhood of Righteous to Inquisition jurisdiction? Do you know you are suspected of heresy and conspiring against God and King? Yes, I am perfectly aware of that, and I presume you too have been entrusted to find evidence against me and prove me guilty. You could say that. In that case, I must repeat to you what I've already told the inquisitorial prosecutor Jeremiah when he came to interrogate me. I'm innocent. I committed no crime which I could confess before God or before any other secular as ecclesiastical court. So I swear by all which is sacred to me. Like these big words! So how could it happen you are suspected of heresy? Allegedly it was you who led the orcs into the town during the assault on Hilbrand. My defense against this false accusation is simple, brother, although hardly believable. At that moment of insidious attack on the greenskins of the town, I was not in Hilbrand. Hence the person cited when allowing the orcs to enter the town could not be me. It had to be someone just pretending to be me. And where were you then? What happened? The day before that night attack on Hilbrand, I got an anonymous message. Someone told me to come to Dragon Rock in the evening. The message promised me I would learn some information about heretics that I've been searching for in vain for some time. It should have struck me in its trap, but I really needed a hint for my investigation as I was in deadlock, so I carelessly went to the place of meeting. I was ready for all things possible, but the web of infernal magic had devoured me before I could do anything. Only then I realized my error, and when I fell into the devilish world of nightmares, it was already too late. I will not try to convey to you what I dreamed during the deep, corrupted sleep. It was a terrible nightmare, full of cruelty and bizarreness of the worst sort. When I awoke, I was sick and exhausted. I had no idea I spent full 3 days there. What do you think happened to you, Master? It's certain I fell victim to a conspiracy. First, I had no idea why the heretics didn't kill me outright, if they made such an effort to lure me out of town and bind me with magic. But I found out shortly after I returned to town. People were afraid of me, crossed themselves and closed the doors before me. In no time I was met with the inquisitional prosecutor and told I'm suspected of conspiring against God and the King. He asked me to surrender willingly to the Inquisition and subject myself to investigation. I knew that he had enough evidence against me he would just seize me, so I refused, although in doing so I made myself disreputable. It's not a good idea to let oneself be inquired by the Inquisition. I, Master of the Brotherhood of Righteousness, authorized by God and King to prosecute and combat all evil and unjust, was accused of conspiring with the powers of hell in order to overthrow the King's rule in Hilbrand. Why would someone try to defame you in such a way? Defame? No, brother. Someone's trying to destroy me. He tries to bring me to court so I can be executed for heresy and for high treason. And I know very well the reason. When all these strange things started happening in Hilbrand, I immediately conceived that there would be some connection. First, it was the murder of Kurt Olimir, the merchant. He was quite an eccentric man and traded everything possible, maybe even occult items strictly forbidden by the church. I think he was murdered because for some item he possessed and didn't want to sell. Or the murderer wanted to stop him from telling something that he should not be told. Not long after that, young Baroness Gwen Wanwell died. I never concealed my suspicion she did not die a natural death. She was young, fresh as a flower, and vigorous. I liked her very much, despite of what she died under unexplainable circumstances, and in the twinkling of her eye, her body vanished from the grave. Why should these two crimes have anything in common? Call it intuition, brother. During those long 20 years I've been serving in the Brotherhood, I learned to trust my intuition. And two crimes are connected. I can swear on it. And that's why I've investigated both cases up together. Although in the case of the merchant Omir's murder, I was clueless. When searching for the thieves of Gwen Von Well's body, I managed to find a witness. It was Bishop Quintinus, and contacted me himself. He told me one night in the graveyard he witnessed a group of heretics stealing the body of the young Baroness, and he even recognized one of them. Really? Who was it? I could not believe it at first, but Bishop Quintinus was positive he recognized Linda Van Galligan, wife of the Royal Vice-Governor of Hilbrand, Baron Robert Van Galligan. I decided to question her, but she refused to cooperate, moreover threatened me if I bothered her with such nonsense. She would complain to her husband and to the Duke of Weinberg. It reassured me in my intent to find out what the Baroness had to do with the matter. But when things I've already told you about happened, it was before I managed to advance with the investigation. Moreover, Bishop Quintinus disappeared without a trace during the orcish assault on the town, and I became suspicious of his kidnapping as well. It's all slowly beginning to fit together. Surely the bishop was kidnapped so that he could not speak against Baroness Linda van Galligan, and I was to be accused of heresy just because I revealed her heretics. Don't you understand, brother? It's a conspiracy. It very well might be so, Master. The only question is, who is the culprit? What if you are lying and trying to send me on a false trail? In that case, I do not doubt you will soon make it out yourself. But if you really care about justice, find out who is behind all the crimes, who took place in Hillbranton, which even may be all known to me. I'm sure that the murder of Kurt Olmier the merchant, the obscure death of poor Gwen von Will, the theft of her body and kidnapping of Bishop Quintinus are connected, and the Baroness Linda van Galligan is mixed up in them. If you could find and reel the culprit behind all these sympathies, you would be also purge my names. If I may advise you, go talk to Beggar Flitz. He hangs about the town tavern all the time, and so could see something important. That night, Olimir was the merchant murdered. Though he told me he saw nothing, you may have better luck. Culprits on the crimes in Hillbrant will be uncovered. I will take care of that. Thank you for your advice. Excellent, brother. I hope your investigation will be better the result than mine, but I'd like to ask for you one favor. When I was lying by Dragon Walk, bound by infernal magic of heretics, my paladin sword disappeared. It's an unspeakable dishonor to me, and I need it back at any cost. Could you look for it? I will look for your sword, Master. That thief will be smitten by rightful punishment. Thank you, brother. I will be greatly indebted to you if you succeed. You're welcome. May I talk to you some more? What conditions must I meet before I be declared a commander of your order, Master? Only a knight of the Brotherhood of Righteous can become a commander of the Brotherhood, and only if he proves his loyalty to God and King and completes a task that's assigned to him. Moreover, he has to prove his courage in fighting and kill more than 100 infernal enemies. I would like to become a commander. Really? And do you deem yourself sufficiently loyal to God and King? Do you believe you're ready to sacrifice yourself for the justice you're sworn to defend even at the price of all lives? Yes, Master. I am ready. Then I will charge you with a quest that should prove your devotion to our mission. For ages, Hillbrant was protected by a holy relic, which shielded it from all evil. It was the monstrance of Saint Ornithius. According to an ancient legend, the monstrance was consecrated by the patron saint of the realm, Saint Ornithius himself, in 221. It was carried to Hillbrant by its first bishop, Albertinius, in 339, and became the most valued treasure of the Holy Mother Church in this part of the realm. The monstrance was kept in the church of Saint Ornithius. Not a long time ago, mysteriously disappeared. Your task will be to find the relic and to find out who is the perpetrator of this heinous crime. I will do my best to apprehend the perpetrator as soon as I can, and to return the relic to its rightful place. Farewell. Alright folks, that about wraps it up for this video. See you next time with some more Inquisitor. The plot thickens!